is for warwear.com.
Leg went out of fracture. So I understand properly. I know this one. This one is my auntie. I understand the story. So there are no elements of lies in a story. I knew the story from way back. I know our hometown. I know a family house. I used to go there to hang out, so I understand properly. So today we have a big masquerade in the house, right? And I'm going to unveil the masquerade shortly. I know that some of you have been having an amazing time, and I want to seize this opportunity to appreciate you all, appreciating my team. I'll do a bit of more appreciation at the end of this session, but so that we don't waste our time, we have to dive deep into today's session. So I am going to be having with me today as we hang out. And by the way, if you have any question that you want to ask as we go into our story, our life, living a limitless life. A limitless life, we have in the building the Chief Responsibility Officer of the world-famous, world-renowned Rough and Tumble. I call her the CEO of the Gatimo conglomerate. That's what I call Gatimo, because I'm part of Gatimo, and I have worked closely with her. I am privileged to have served as a resident coach, in the last 1 year. And she's such a joy to work with. She will push you off mediocrity. She will not hesitate to tell you when you're not performing. And a lot of people will struggle with that, especially people who are not given to personal development. But if you're someone who wants to be at your best, then we call her Mrs. O, right? She's just a fresh of breath here. We have sat in yoga together, done a whole lot of aerobics, inspected properties together, done a lot of, amazing things together. Every encounter with her never leaves you the same. House of Saviors, let's make welcome Mrs. O. I almost said Pastor Mrs. Let's welcome Mrs. AdeNike Ogunlesi. Okay, guys, can you unmute yourself? Can you scream, shout, clap, and let's make welcome Mrs. O to the house.
Hi, everyone. Hi.
Welcome, ma'am. Welcome.
Thank you very much, guys.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mrs. O.
Welcome, ma'am.
I am, it's about, I'm excited to be doing this with you today. And thank you so much. Unknown to many people, she was the one that pushed me actually to start House of Saviors. And she has attended almost every meeting except when she's out of town. So if once you see a name that is iPhone something, that's Mrs. O. She never puts her name,
I changed it.
Okay, so
I think I will.
She's always here. AdeNike, it's good to have you here, right? And I'm going to be talking to you on, a limitless life. But I know that I can't dive into the question without asking you, how did you get here? I look at the massive structures, the massive manpower. You're one of the few Nigerians who have over 300 people on your payroll, if I'm not mistaken. And that is not celebrated, actually, because it's not out there. But I've worked with you. I've worked in the factory with the people, with the managers. I don't know how you do it, but how did you start? How did Rough and Tumble start? Because we love the stories of little beginning. Some people are here, they're trying to start. They are frustrated by the Nigerian economy. And because we're talking about a limitless life with AdeNike Ogunlesi, we would like a peep into the story. How did you conceive the idea of building a premium children clothing brand in a place where many of us would rather go to Katangwa and maybe buy Bend Down Boutique and Bend Down Select? It's almost inconceivable that you can start that business and it can be profitable in Nigeria. How did you start, man?
Thank you very much, Praise. And a good afternoon to everybody who has taken the time out this beautiful Sunday afternoon to be on this program. I'm super delighted to be here, Praise. You know, it's always such a joy to support anything that you're doing, because I so believe in what you're doing, and I so believe in the impact that you're making in the lives of all the people who open themselves up to this new learning and embrace it, and not only acquire the knowledge, but actually use the knowledge to change their lives. Because that really is, in a nutshell, the story of Rough and Tumble. The story of resilience is a story of determination. It's a story of possibilities. It's a story of belief in the place called Nigeria, regardless of what it is that I can see. So it's a story of trust, a trust in self, a trust in the unknown, but a belief in self and what is possible. And I remember leaving Ahmadu Bello University because really it all started from there. And walking away from the Faculty of Law in Congo campus, because it was just all a blur. Nothing there was making sense. And my mother always said to me growing up, unto thine own self be true. And so when I was in a place where I wasn't comfortable, my entire being, you know, would throw up this feeling that would make me say, no, you know, I got to do something. I can't be here. This is not where I'm supposed to be. And so I packed up and left ABU and went back home. And I honestly, at the time, didn't know what I wanted to do. And my mother just said to me, well, if you're not going to go to ABU or wherever right now, what I need you to do is work with me in the business. And I think that was the pivot. And that was the time my entire life took a 360-degree turn. Because for the first time in my life, I found something that held my attention. I found something that I wasn't working. I was enjoying myself. I was taking material. I was turning it into garments. It was brainless to me. It was effortless. I could be there for hours, not remember to eat, not remember to do anything, you know? And that's why they say your purpose is usually found in that place where your energy flows freely into whatever it is that you're doing. Your purpose is not something that you struggle with or resist or struggle against. Your purpose is something that you flow with, you know, but your eyes must be open. Your heart must be open. You must be able to hear, see, and feel what that thing is. And that requires you to live at a certain level of consciousness. This is not to say that I was this conscious at the time. I wasn't, but I was used to working with how did I feel about something? What did I think of something? Was it what I wanted to do? I was used to asking myself those kind of questions. And I knew what I didn't want. So I was forced to try and think of what I wanted. And so I spent my entire, from about 18 to about 28, I spent working with my mother, building this business where I went into her business and literally brought it up into the 21st century, brought my youthful energy, my ideas. She was amazing because she allowed me express myself. She allowed me make my mistakes. And this is a message to parents, you know, that not all our children are academic. Not all our children are going to be lawyers, doctors, and the professions that we all know. There is a lot of space in the creative space. There's a lot of opportunity, rather, in the creative space that a lot of people have the gift, but because we've been socialized into this very narrow framework of what is possible, we tend to follow it and become what society says we should. Well, I was an oddball. And it makes me remember something that, because everybody thought I was insane. All my friends said I was mad. But I remember something I read that was written by a guy called Marcus Aurelius. He said the object of life is not to be on the side of the majority, but to escape finding oneself in the ranks of the insane. So technically to everybody, I was insane because I was packing up, university and going to go and, work with my mother and start sewing clothes and making clothes. There was nobody in my age group that was doing anything like that. So I was literally insane to be doing a thing like that. I was called a dropout. I was called all because what? All because I refused to toe a path that was not meant for me. All because I chose to create a path for myself. And this is going to be happening in your life all the time. When you decide to go in the opposite direction of consensus, general thinking, people are going to say you're not all right. So you have to be comfortable. I was young. Did it get to me? Of course it got to me. But then that is what made me start my personal development journey and commit myself to being the best version of myself. Why? I wanted to prove to everybody at the time, I wanted to prove to everybody that I made the choice that was right for me. Not for anybody else, but right for me. And that it was me that mattered. Not my father, not my mother, because it was my life. And this is what we all have to come to terms with. It is your life. It is your unique journey. It is nobody else's. And as parents also, to all the parents in the house, we must remember this when we're trying to make choices for our children. It is not in our place to make choices for them. Each person is a star that must shine. And for it to shine, it must go through its own issues, its own experiences for it to come out shining. And so with all of this, I got the courage. And if you don't have courage, you can't start. You have to have courage. Yes, what you see is people are telling you there's no money. Let me tell you something. Nigeria raised $4 billion in investments in Nigeria in 2021. $4 billion. You are busy listening to people who are saying there's no money. There's money. There's plenty of money. But what do you see? So what I saw was an opportunity. I worked with my mother up until I got married. I had 3 small children. And at the time, I couldn't travel. We didn't have that kind of money where we traveled every year. So I decided, my children needed pajamas. I decided to make pajamas for my children. And the rest is history. I made pajamas for my children. I offered pajamas to a group of other women. My sister-in-law asked me to make her 7 pairs. And I just thought, wait a minute. If all these women need pajamas, how many more things do all these women need? And so what value can I create? And once you are a person of value, delivering value consistently, there will always be space in the marketplace for you. Wow. The thing is to understand what value is. That is, what is that thing that is important to your customer? And what is that product that prefers a solution to your customer? So my pajamas were a solution, really, to the mothers that were looking for 100% cotton pajamas for their children. And I realized that, what can I do with this opportunity? So I made a whole suitcase full of pajamas. And every time I took my children to play school in the morning, I would stand there and I would say, I've got these pajamas, of course, saleswoman of the year. I was there marketing, selling. Some women walked past me, didn't even look at me. Some people bought from me. They were $950, they were $750, they were $550, they were $1,200. I mean, I didn't let anybody who walked past me and didn't buy, I did not let them leave a mark on my day. I let the people who bought from me leave me so super excited that they created 20 million times the amount of energy I needed to keep going. Because that was the result I wanted. And so how did this thing out of the boot of my car, how did it become what it is today? Did I set out to be like that? I set out to prove that it was possible as Nigerians to produce good quality garments. That was one of my whys. My second why was I wanted to be financially independent. And I wanted the security and freedom that financial independence offered me. My mother used to say that financial independence for a woman was non-negotiable. A woman must have her own money, must. it's not something that you even think about, is that you have the mental capacity, you have the competence, you have value to offer. You take that value to the marketplace and you birth whatever it is you need to birth to create value. And value is returned back to you because you have created value. Mm-hmm. And that is the way it works. So for me, working was not something that I thought about. It's a given. Running a business was a given. How then would I integrate it with being married? How will I take all the different parts of my life and integrate them? I don't look for balance because I believe balance is almost impossible to get. What I look for is integration. How do I get all of the different parts of my life to work together, to align together, to deliver on the desires of my heart? First of all, financial independence. Secondly, freedom and security. This had nothing to do with my husband or whether I trusted my husband or I didn't trust my husband. This had to do with me as a human being with capacity, with capabilities, a gift to the world, a gift from God, a gift that needed to find expression and gift that gift to the world. That is what my spirit was yearning for. So It had nothing to do with my husband. It had to do with the core of my being. I needed to be useful. I needed to give. I needed to share. I needed to create. I needed to give value and create value. So it's so important that wherever you are, whatever it is that you're trying to do, you must ask yourself that question. Why am I doing this? That reason is what is going to be the compelling reason why you are going to get up on days that it doesn't make sense. Is the reason why you're going to face all the different challenges. And believe me, the challenges, they will come. They will come like a torrential downpour. And if you are not grounded in the reason why you are doing something, you are going to lose your focus and you are going to lose yourself.
Okay, Auntie, let me pause you there because you have almost covered all my questions. I don't want that. sorry. I only ask you question one. You have covered like 1 to 3. But
sorry.
You touched on challenges. Yeah, I'm going to ask, what are some of the challenges because people from government legislation, Nigeria has a bit of emotional government who can wake up tomorrow and come up with a legislation that's not favorable. What were some of the, at every milestone in your journey, what were some of the critical challenges you went through and how did you practically surmount some of those challenges?
So the first challenge actually was myself. The first challenge was me and the leader I needed to become to run the kind of organization that I wanted to run. That was the biggest challenge. The resistance within myself of knowing this is where I am and this is what I desire. And the space between those two spaces, who did I need to become to get what it is that I wanted? That was the first challenge that I faced. Yeah, I remember doing a leadership, a teamwork test when I went off on a retreat with my staff, and I scored 0.
Wow.
It was a wake-up call for me because I am not a team. I was not a team player. I was the kind of person that I was laser focused on what I wanted to achieve, and I would clear everything out of my way to achieve that thing. Now, that kind of thing it has its place. But when you want to build for the future and you want to go far, you have to recognize that you don't know everything and you don't have all the answers. So the first thing was even me becoming humble, humility, to know that I don't have all the answers and that I'm not the smartest person in the room, that there are other people who are smarter than me and who have the competencies that I don't have. So how can I, as a leader, leverage on those competencies? How can I leverage on those other people so that I can achieve the outcomes that I want to achieve? That was my first and biggest challenge. The other things for me were not things that could not be overcome. the challenge of raising finance, for example, to grow the business. I wanted a 1 million naira revolving overdraft. And the bank manager told me, Madam, please don't disturb anybody in the bank. Please go and ask your husband for this money.
Wow.
I, as a whole CEO of a company, walked into a bank, showing you all my what do they call it? Bank statements, showing you my business documents, showing you my balance sheet, showing you all those things. And you tell me that I shouldn't disturb anybody. I should not ask my husband for the money. First of all, he showed me how backward that manager was. He showed me what he thought about women. He showed me how limited his thinking and his perspective was of what was possible or not possible. You know, that after all, I'm just selling children's clothes. So what's the problem? So what I realized from that was that people will not understand your vision, but it doesn't mean that that vision is not valid. So you have to learn to find the people who understand and align with that vision so that you can build with them. Yeah. So raising finance was a challenge, but I overcame it. Yeah. I was trying to raise money, for example, I was trying to raise money to build our support center, the headquarters that we currently occupy right now. And, you know, I went to 6 commercial banks in Nigeria and they all said no. Wow. And by the time I got to the 7th bank, I had learned all the mistakes I had made and I had realized how I would open the doors that I needed to open. So by the time I got to Access Bank, I had my financial director taking care of the finances. I did the branding and the future of the company. And in less than 20 minutes, I just heard Mrs. Ogunlesi will support you. How much did you say you wanted? 200 million naira? Okay, let's work on it. Let's get it done. I mean, first of all, I almost fell off the chair. But it shows you that because you get a no, because you even get 10 no's, doesn't mean you should give up. I didn't give up. I refused to give up because I believed in my dream. I believed, I saw it so clearly, you know, and this is one of the things that Einstein says, that knowledge is nothing, imagination is everything. And your imagination, when you're able to hone your imagination, regardless of what you can see in the physical, and you can focus on it with the intensity that it requires, what you are creating, you will see it in your reality.
Wow.
It's a law of life. It's a law of life.
This is profound, Auntie. I know that you travel a lot and, you know, I mean, the first time I met you, you invited me to a Catholic church to come and speak. That was the first time before we now went way back and now realized that we are actually connected. You've been through India, been to Turkey, you've been everywhere. And one of the things I hear you say is the quality of workforce those nations have. I mean, I want you to speak to, I mean, how easy has it been finding the right workforce, especially in a religious country like Nigeria, where, like I once fired a staff who comes to the office and all she does is pray, you know, for like 2 hours. Then she wants to go to fellowship again. And I felt that was unproductive. And she said, oh, she went everywhere and said, oh, I didn't want her to serve God. And I said, no, you know, this is a workplace. And so I have found that recurring decimal in the sense that Nigeria and Africa, we pray a lot, but we don't do the part. I mean, I'm taking my driver's lessons here. And I got to a point and I broke down, started crying because I found out that you can actually go to jail if you overtake a school bus. Right. And so if a vehicle can overtake a school bus, the probability of getting crushing school children is almost like 0. That if you are driving and you don't give aid to maybe an accident victim, you can go to jail. So empathy has been built into driving laws, for example. And so you realize that people do those things, not even because they want to do it, but because they can go to jail for it. So you see systems and processes that work. Now, I want you to speak to the challenges and how you overcame the issue of workforce. I mean, because a whole lot of people in the House of Saviors, they tell me, finding the right people to work with, you know, it's a problem. You know, how has it been for you? And what do you think, what role do you think that religion has played in our productivity as a nation?
So thank you. It's a great question, because the third challenge I was going to mention was actually the people challenge. When you asked me about challenges. And the people challenge in Nigeria is real. It's very, very real. But I don't think that it is a Nigerian problem. And why do I say it's not a Nigerian problem? I think there is a global problem. Because if there wasn't a global problem, some of the books that we see on Amazon would not be talking about human capital, culture, and all those things. It's a human beings are the most difficult part of the element of the success of a business to manage, and yet they are the most important element. Human beings are the bridge between products, services, and the consumers and the customers that you're building. So the human element in every business is driven by the culture of that organization. And when you are starting as a very small business, the owner of the business driver at the time embodies the culture that is driven through that entire organization. So you have to be very clear yourself and become a very disciplined person yourself if you want to model the right behaviors and drive the right culture within your organization. So for me, culture is very key. So I set a lot of the culture in Rough and Tumble, and I set also by example, I model the culture that I drive. So you will not find that I will not be at work. If I'm not at work, it's because there's a reason I'm doing something. So I will come to work every day like everybody else does. I get paid a salary at the end of the month like everybody else does. So I don't hold the checkbooks and write myself checks or take the checks out to go and do shopping. No, I don't do that. So what does that mean? It means that there's systems and structures in place that I also must submit myself to. Even though I am the business owner, I must submit myself to it for the greater good of us all. So I can't operate a different culture and expect the people that are working with me to run a different culture as well. It doesn't work like that. Yeah. So what did I have to do? And I tell you something, I've kissed many frogs, and some of them turned into princesses and princes, and some of them just turned into little creatures with horns. Trust me. Yeah. But I also believe that that is part of your growth and part of your journey as a leader. Yeah. That you then begin to find what are the systems that you need to put in place to be able to hire correctly. And that took me a while, because as the business was evolving, I had to take all the things that I was doing as the business owner. We had to create departments for all those things. That's when I actually discovered I was doing so much. Wow, I didn't realize I was doing so much. That's when I realized I was doing so many things, and trying to decentralize it and break it up into finding the right people. It's not about bodies. It's about the people with the right mindset, who are willing, who have an open mind, who have a learning spirit, who have the right attitude. And sometimes you will not know this until they start working. Yeah. So, and this is why we worked with you, Praise, so closely, that even before we bring anybody into our system, we get them to go through your entire process of examining them and doing all kinds of tests for them, because we have come to realize from reading Ray Dalio's book, Principles, that you have to get that algorithm right and get the right people into your system. Because if you are not aligned, you're going to be working against each other and working at cross purposes, and the business then suffers. It will not grow. Yeah. So getting a robust HR lead and HR processes and systems in place and performance management systems in place is key to discovering the right people. And when somebody is not the right person, and you know this, we have to let them go. Yeah. No matter how capable they are, this thing is built on 3 C's: character, competence, and capacity. Character, right attitude, open to learning, willing to learn, is humble, has a strong, is loyal, can be trusted, and all those things. You discover them on the journey. Nobody has trust written on their forehead, as they tell me. Competence, what skills do they have? What skills do they bring? What value do they bring? How are they impacting the system? How are they growing the system? How are they changing and upgrading the system? Then how are they willing to learn? Do they have a learning spirit, a teachable spirit? Do they have all the answers? Do they know everything? So competency is key, you know? And then of course you have the capacity. Capacity is your ability to move, to go from A to B. You can think it, you can know it, but can you do it? Because nothing in this world happens without actions. Action is the ultimate. So the thought process, the words that we speak, and the actions that we take, all those three things must align. And so we must align those things with the people that work with us and our organization and ourselves. And when we find that alignment, my goodness, magic happens. You will get the kind of results that you didn't even know you could get. But you've got to understand how important it is to have the right people. I'm sorry, it's not about people, it's about the right people. And if you, and not be afraid to let people go, you know? And when people come up to you and they say they want to resign, I remember in those days, it would be a Friday evening. You would just see an email, a letter of resignation, and my heart would jump out of my body and I would be chasing it to put it back in. And you know, my husband helped me put it in perspective one day. And he just said to me, so what if the person dropped dead? What would you do? Nobody is indispensable. You need to build a system. So nobody is indispensable. And so we have a very robust system. It's not perfect. It's still work in progress. But with each passing day, we see the progress. We see things getting better. We see better alignment. We see people who want to learn, who want a better life, and who are willing to commit. You know, they're willing to commit. They're willing to go all in to get that better life. So the people challenge is real, but it's not the end of the world, and it's not something you cannot overcome. You can, but it's also, a lot of it depends on you and begins with you. What kind of leader are you? What are your values? What is your belief system? I said during COVID, for example, you know, just before COVID happened, it suddenly dawned on me that all the markets will be closed. I released like 2 million naira and I said, go buy yams, beans, gari, everything, buy it and just distribute to all our staff. They were shocked. They couldn't believe it. And so, of course, when I was hearing about the production of masks and I started calling my people, some of them were walking because there was no transport. They were walking to work for 2 hours. Wow. For us to make the samples, for us to rearrange the factory before Lagos State then gave us a permit. And I hired the Lagos State buses to convey people. I hired a cook to cook for them every day. Wow. You know, they were willing. They rose up. I looked back and they were there. So wow. A lot of it is dependent on you. Who are you? What kind of leader are you? What are your values? What is your belief system? What are the things that influence you? What is the impact you want to make? These are all questions that we must answer. And why are you doing this? You must be honest with yourself. Wow. You must be honest with yourself.
Wow. Antinike, what is jumping at me as you're talking is limitlessness, limitlessness, limitlessness. I mean, it's almost as if you will never take a no for an answer. You will, if it's a wall, you're going to break it down. You're going to weigh it down till it gives way. Yeah. Because you are very, very clear about what you want. Now, you cannot get to that level without personal development. What's your personal development journey like? I mean, because when I was growing up, I remember the first place I worked, every time I asked my boss, how are you doing these things? He would just say to me, it's God's grace, it's God's grace, and so it used to trouble my brain because, God's grace must have a pathway. So the next place I worked, that was clearer. I saw the systems and I learned how to build systems. Personal development what is it like? I know you are someone who reads. I mean, you gave me the book by Ray Dalio. In fact, you were the one that introduced me to the guy, and I became very addicted to him. Right? What's personal development? I mean, how vital is personal development to developing this kind of mindset, this kind of attitude, and this kind of resilience that can enable us live a limitless life?
I think yes, again, praise, another great question. I grew up in a very dysfunctional family and a very dysfunctional background, which, you know, is the story of so many people. But I wasn't afraid to face it. And I wasn't afraid to become a better version of myself, even though I was very young at the time. My hero was Chief Odutola, Papa Odutola. At 13, I worked on his factory floor. You know, my father was his medical doctor as well. So, you know, we used to stay in his house. He used to leave at 5 a.m. in those days to go to Lagos. You know, he was just my hero when I was a child, as a child. And I wanted to be something more, and I knew I could be something more. But I found myself in this place where my thoughts were not supporting what I wanted to do. I came across this book called The Power of Positive Thinking.
Yeah.
You know, and it was a blue book, and that book was the beginning of a whole new life for me. And that's where I realized that I will say this in Yoruba. I'm sorry if you don't speak Yoruba, but honestly, this is the way it came to me. Yeah. What be me, motura mi bi. So I was born, but I went through a rebirth of myself. And that is what personal development will do for you. It's not something you can compromise on. It's something that you make a pillar. One of the 5 pillars of my life is personal development. It's love, gratitude, health, wealth, relationships, personal development. It's ingrained in as a part of me. Yeah, it's not something I can ever stop doing. You have to be open to learning. And people like Einstein tell you that once you stop learning, you stop growing. Once you stop growing, it means you're ready to die. So you can be ready to die at 25 and be buried at 95, or you can be ready to die at 25 and go through a rebirth and really begin to live the life that you were called to live courageously, boldly, with audacity. And that is what that book did for me. So that was one of the first books I read. Then somebody introduced me to Anthony Robbins. And that was the end. There was nothing that was going to stop me after that. I mean, Anthony Robbins, his energy, his absolute belief in what he set his mind to achieve was incredible. And he taught me how to let go of the dysfunctionality I grew up in. He taught me how to embrace a new me, how to create a new me, how to discipline. He taught me the meaning of discipline, because all of us, what we understand discipline to mean is punishment. But discipline is actually doing what you need to do regardless of how you feel. And discipline is what will take you to wherever it is you want to go. But you have to understand what it means. So I had to take a whole group of words and give them meaning and begin to see those words come alive in my life. And discipline was one of them. Commitment was another one. Consistency was another one. Persistency was another one. Perseverance was another one. Faith was another one. I took all of those words and broke them down. What do they mean to me? How do I give them meaning? And how does it take me to where it is I want to go? Because at the end of the day, that's what this is about. I'm going somewhere. I'm not staying here. I'm going somewhere. And I'm going to go through the wall, under the wall, over the wall, around the wall. I'm going to get to the other side. And nothing is going to stop me. And nobody is going to stop me.
Wow.
So that's
it's
and And that's just some of the books I read when I started. You know, I read Toxic Parents so I could forgive my parents, so I could let go of the past. I mean, the books I read are countless.
Wow.
Really.
You know, I know you maybe up closer than many people. And I know how versed you are, you know, and I know the power that you give to meditation. Meditation is not popular in Africa. At least the kind of meditation that we know works. And, you know, sometimes I look at you and I'm wondering, how is she able to accept some of these things, assimilate, and go ahead to practicalize them? I mean, I hear you say one day you went to a particular store somewhere in some countries and you sat down on their floor and you told yourself, I am going to replicate this. And you talked about how you would sit down in your office and design through meditation. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
You know, meditation is the greatest gift to mankind. If only man understood the power that lies within. And that's where meditation takes you. It shuts out all the distractions of the world. But for you to do that, you have to discipline yourself to sit in one place, close your eyes, shut the world out, and think only good and powerful thoughts. So when I first started meditation, I used to feel things crawling up my skin. I used to want to get up and jump up and say, no, no, no. What meditation does is it makes you face you. It makes you face your nakedness if you are ready to face it. Makes you face all the jumpy parts of you that are not calm. I don't want to be calm. I want to jump all over the place. I want to be busy rather than stop and be still. And in meditation, this is where we stop and really are still and know that there is God. And know that God is not outside of us. God is inside of us. And he's a part of us. And that power of creation, we are co-creators. That is where that power of creation is released. That is where it is unearthed. If you will pay attention and force yourself to meditate. This was even before I discovered all the tools of meditation that we have now. The meditation tools from people like Dr. Jody Spencer, you know, Neville Goddard, and all those different amazing, Dr. Wayne Dyer, all those amazing people that exist now. So I went through the Asian way of doing it, which was to sit down on a mat and face myself, face my demons, face all the jumpy parts of me, and come out of it knowing that the power that lies within me is far greater than the power of whatever it is on the outside. And that's when I realized that I am never a victim of circumstance. I create all my own experiences. And that's the power that I carry.
Wow.
So a life, if you are not meditating, begin now. Get a mat, sit down, close your eyes, and just learn to breathe. And we have all been taught to breathe from the chest. You have to breathe from your stomach, not from your chest. Your fear is carried in your stomach. And if you don't give your stomach breath, breath is God. Breath is the Spirit of God going through you, flowing through you, awakening you, and giving birth to and unleashing the greatness that is in you, that is you.
Wow.
You can't find that in the noise of the marketplace. You can't find it. And it is from meditation that when you go through your day, surrendering your day to God within, wisdom within, that as you go through, you find that things open up. And when they don't open up, you also recognize that it's not its time to open up. That's why it hasn't opened. And so you carry on regardless of what you see. Because you know there is a compelling vision of the future that you have to create. You just keep going. So when you are faced with a roadblock, that which you carry within you, that energy which you carry within you is far greater and stronger than that roadblock.
Wow.
And you overcome it.
Wow. 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 This is profound for me. I mean, guys, if you know the number of materials AdeNike and I share regularly, I mean, today now, I think we've shared like 4 or 5. I mean, it's such a joy to have her in my corner and to be able to talk to her almost every day, every time. You know, AdeNike, I mean, I'm going to ask you a private question because I think we are waiting for your book, and I need you to promise us when the book is going to come out, and your TV show. You need to, and your tours, because I think nations needs to hear you. We can, the least version of you is the cloth manufacturer. There is the higher version of you, which is the limitless you, that I think people need to feel across the globe. And I think it's something you need to really, really pay attention to in the new year. But how can people find authenticity and you know, the right support system for their originality? I mean, people make a lot of excuses. They don't like me. Oh, my father did this to me. My mother did this to me. This person did this to me. So I'm stuck. I have, you know, 5 children and my marriage did not work. That's why. I mean, they have a lot of, so it's almost tough for them to live their life because they are living for what people would say. Now, how can, now, by the way, if you have any question, you can put it in the comment box. You know, how can people find their authenticity? How can they be limitless? How can they find the right support system, you know, that can help them live an effective life, especially in the midst of a world that seeks to bully and drown their originality?
So to be authentic, you have to be willing to be vulnerable. If you are not willing to be vulnerable, finding your authentic self is going to be a difficult thing. Yeah. And vulnerability means that you are not afraid to express or be who it is that you are or how you feel within you. Yeah. So for me, being vulnerable is a super strength. For me, it's actually a superpower. That means that you have risen above the consciousness of allowing what people think to define you. And I think the greatest disease that we have in Africa, and most especially in Nigeria, is kinomaso, kilayemawi. Nobody must hear. What will the neighbors say? Oh my God, what will this person say? What will that person say? And so long as you live your life for what will people say, you are never going to live an authentic life. You're always going to live by somebody else's rules, somebody else's perspectives, somebody else's ideas, somebody else's everything. It's never going to be about you. So the first thing to do is not be afraid and be courageous enough to come out and say, this is who I am. Yeah. Having gone through a process of defining who you are. So it's not just that, oh, I'm saying this is who I am, you know, just off the top of my head. It's because I've gone through a process, and it's something that you do amazingly well. You know, you did it for my staff. Is going through a process of evaluating your values, your belief systems, what is driving you, what is shaping you, what are you exposing yourself to that is subliminally shaping your lives, your decisions, your choices, because your life is consistently shaped by the choices that you make on a daily basis. That is what is shaping your life. So you have to become conscious and extremely intentional about the things that you are thinking, because they are becoming your words, and your words are becoming your actions. And there is your life in front of you. Yeah. Wow. So to be authentic, you have to be courageous enough to be vulnerable, not care about what people think, go through a process of defining and redefining and refining who it is that you want to be in this big world. Yeah, those things for me are very, very important. And that's why I align with you, because you do this for a lot of people and it helps them. It really does help people when they're able to do that. And you have to trust and believe in yourself. And not be afraid. I remember once, I'm not a person of consensus. I'm a woman of conviction.
Wow.
I don't follow consensus. I'm a woman of conviction. If I have a conviction about something, nobody will stop me. Nothing can stop me. So if you got, I used to do it, but I don't do it anymore because I felt I wasn't authentic. So that you go to a party, the tablecloth, the swags, everybody's dressed in the same matching color and everything. That's not, all the women look the same length of eyelashes, the same hair tie, the same makeup artist, the same everything. How is everybody afraid to be different? Why must I look like everybody else? So I appeared in a party that was all green. I appeared in everything red. And needless to say, a lot of people were very upset. But I don't live my life. If my actions make you uncomfortable, that's you. I can't help you. They don't make me uncomfortable. This is who I am. And I'm proud of who I am. And I accept who I am. And I'm happy to live in the core and essence of who I am. And be thankful and grateful for grace that gives me courage to consistently embrace my authenticity.
Wow. Antinike, I don't know if anybody has a question because I'm about to ask her the last two questions. The way you talk about these things, someone is there thinking, she doesn't know what I've been through. She doesn't know, she doesn't know. If she can hear my story. So people are making excuses. And I see that happen all the time. Sometimes I'm working with someone, the person people keep taking me back and they keep giving excuses why they can't move forward and all those things. And sometimes it's stemming from how they were raised and the way society has conscripted them to a world view. I remember, people almost called me an atheist when I began to say, prayer meetings cannot help Africa. Africa needs more thinking meetings, and people didn't quite understand that. They felt very offended, and I said, your actions are prayers, your thoughts are prayers. If you can take charge of those ones, you will do limited of mouth prayers. And people, they reported me, people formed a prayer group and began to pray for my soul. Maybe I was losing my mind and all those things. Those things happened, but hearing you and seeing you live out these things, it's a great consolation and inspiration for many of us. So if someone is making excuses, to say, you don't know the losses I've suffered. I started business and I didn't make profit. There was no profit in the first 3 years and I shut it down. What do you have to say to such a person, Antinike?
I'm going to recommend a couple of books for them to read because they have a negative worldview, which is not helping them. And one of the most dangerous things you can do is to live in the past. When you live in the past, you have no energy to create, you have no energy in the present to create the future that you desire. And the future you desire is created in the present moment by the things you are doing. So if in the present moment you are stuck in the past, you are not creating anything. You're not changing anything. Now, when you make a mistake, or you fail at something, that is what it is. You failed at something. You are not a failure. That whole exercise cannot define the rest of your life. It is an experience. And so you must approach it as, okay, what did we do wrong here? What could I have done better here? And it's the same thing with people who are living in the past. Make peace with your past. My father used to beat me like nonsense. My father refused to pay my school fees. I can't tell you half the things. I had a stepmother who used to curse out. In fact, some of the things she used to say to me in my life, about my life, I used to go and say, I'm going to show you, I'm going to be the biggest everything of the opposite of everything that she said. I didn't even know at the time that I was speaking positive things into my life. So you can choose to be a victim of circumstance or a victim of your past, or you can choose to liberate your soul, liberate your mind, and embrace a new life, a new you. Will you be afraid? Yes, you'll be afraid, but feel the fear and do it anyway. That's another book I read. Feel the fear and do it anyway. I read Toxic Parents, so I would know how to forgive my parents so I could move on with my own life. You have to do the inner work to free yourself, because living in the past is living in bondage. And sometimes it can become a crutch for a lot of people who don't really have anything to do or who don't really want to do anything. In that case, I don't have time for you. I'm sorry. Because we all have a choice. I may not have a choice over how I feel, but I have a choice over how I react, how I respond. And that is my power. Because if you look at human beings and you look at animals, they have 2 ears, we have 2 ears. They have 2 eyes, we have 2 eyes. They have 1 nose, we have 1 nose. 1 mouth, we have 1 mouth. They have intestines, we all have intestines. We have a choice, they don't. That's what makes us higher animals. And if you don't understand the power of that choice, and you don't take that choice and use it, then you are undeserving of it. And as the great book of life says, even what you have will be taken away from you. So you've got to recognize that your parents were doing the best they knew how with what they knew. Did they scar you? Yes, they did. Now, you can either live wallowing in self-pity, or you can wear the scar as part of your journey. Because if my stepmother wasn't saying all those nasty things, maybe I wouldn't have been as ambitious as I am. If my father wasn't saying there's nothing good that I can do, maybe I wouldn't have defined myself as a force for good. So we have a choice, and your choice, the power of your choice is your superpower. And you need to claim it so that you can live your best life. You've got to claim it so you can live your best life. And you define you. You define the space you want to be in. You create those spaces. Somebody's put somewhere something there that is expensive. Is Ashwebi not expensive? I should ask you, how many Ashwebis have you bought? You are ready to buy Ashwebi to have a sense of belonging to a group of people who invited you to a party, so you are a number? So they can say 1,000 people attended their child's party? People who have never been to your house before, they don't know how you wake up, they don't know how you get, they don't know anything about you.
Wow.
And then to spend a bit of money to know yourself, to work on to do the inner work of releasing yourself of the pain of the past. You say these things are expensive. You are not serious, and you are not ready for change. Wow. And the thing about change is coming. Whether you are ready or you are not ready, change is coming. So where is it going to find you? Where will you be? How will you embrace it? If you have not grown a mind that is flexible, that is agile, that is open to different perspectives, not just is this way or no other way. And that is my problem with religion. Religion tells you that the only way you're going to get to heaven is this way, is through Christ, is through Jesus Christ. So all the people who are not believing in Jesus Christ don't go to heaven. Oh, come on. Come on. That story is a long dead story. It's about humanity. It's about how we treat each other. It's about how we see each other regardless of the color of your skin, your race, your whether you have money, whether you don't have money. All of those things don't matter. What matters is before me is a human being. Is there empathy in my heart for that human being? That is what matters.
Wow. We have a question. And let me say this because someone is wondering, maybe it's blasphemy. You know, with scripture we quote is, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No one can come to the Father except through me. But if you study that verse very well, what it's saying is that I am the part, I am the example, I am the embodiment of
Yeah.
what it means to introduce the relational or family side of God, that you cannot access the family dimension to God except you follow the template I have shown. And if you understand the background to that, before Jesus came, right, you couldn't say God, you and father, your God was your father. If you said it, they will stone you. So it was a pioneer of what it means to now call God a father, right? And so he didn't say, I'm the one, no one can come to God except through me. There are people who understand God, the first slave-master relationship. There are people who even see God as a killer, right? It's still aside. There are people who see God as an abstract being. That's what the atheists interact with. Someone is asking a question. How do you go about your conviction when you have a husband who do not believe in you and stood as obstacle on your path to living your best life?
So again, perspectives, what do you see and what do you want to see? Yeah. So I'll tell you, I'll be very open and as honest as I can be. Because my relationship with my dad was extremely dysfunctional, my relationship with men was mostly dysfunctional. And I then realized that actually I have the opportunity to have a different kind of life from what my parents had. That I did not need to live my parents' life all over again. But again, it came down to who did I need to become to have this different kind of life? And so when I first got married, I was very suspicious of my husband. And when he does something, it would be like I would make a mountain out of a molehill. Literally, I would exaggerate everything. He doesn't want me to do this. He doesn't want me to do that. He doesn't want me to do that. And of course, in my personal development journey, I then, learned about perspectives. Can I focus on all the things that he does that are good? Yeah. And sort of like keep my energy focused on all those things that he's doing that are good. So he's a dutiful father. He's respectful. He's responsible. Family is important to him. Yeah. So can I focus on all of those things so that the vibration between us is not one of negativity and estrangement, and because nothing good comes out of that space. So I needed to create a vibe, sort of that where the energy was good, positive energy. When I registered my company, I think my husband and I were even quarreling, but I still made him the chairman of my business because you have to take a long-term view. You are quarreling, it's short-term. It's not that's not the long-term idea. The long-term idea is that both of you are going to live a happy and successful life. And so that is the compelling vision of your marriage. And really, you have to ask yourself, what is the vision of your marriage? And are you living the vision of your marriage? Because it may just be that you're not asking the man the right questions, or you're not picking the right time to communicate with the man. So check your communication skills. And this is a place where people say it's all right for you. No, it's not all right for me. Because I also had to learn. I had to learn how to communicate with my husband. I had to learn how to communicate to get what I wanted out of him. And this is a skill that you must develop as married couples, as a couple. You must learn the art of that is the one of the core guiding principles of leadership. A leader communicates to achieve results. So how are you communicating with your husband? What words are you choosing? What picture are you painting for him? Yeah. And if the house is all hot and steamy and smoky and what have you, he's not going to support anything you want to do. So go back into your marriage. A lot of people get married without a vision for their marriage.
Yeah.
A lot of people get married without, I'm a marriage counselor. And one of the things I teach in class is the pre-marital classes. And I ask people, what are your values? They can't answer me. And these are 27, 28, 29, some of them 30-something-year-olds. Why are you marrying? You don't know the person's values. You don't know what's important to them. Then everybody stops. Okay, what are values? Then we begin. What are examples of values? You have to elicit your values before you get married. You must elicit your values. You must understand what is important to that person. What is the person's love language? There's a famous book on 5 love languages. You must read it. And if you are married already, go ahead and do all these things already. And family life does it now.
Yeah.
Praise. Yeah. So,
Yes.
I mean, you have access. We did not have this access when I was getting married. That's part of the reason why I decided to join and lead the marriage classes in church. Because a lot of marriages break up because there was never a vision. There was never a compelling vision of the future that would keep them together.
Yeah.
Will the storms of life rage? Oh, they will. And they do. But your ship must be strong enough to weather the storm. And for that to happen, you must know the foundations upon which that marriage is built. Otherwise, it's going to crash.
Thank you very much, Mrs. O. I say, but let me take the final question, which will be 2021. 2023 is almost here. 2021 is gone. It's been the year of COVID since 2020, and now Omicron. All kinds of things happening, and a lot of people are afraid for the future. What's your final word to the saviors in the house today as they go into the future? Because guys, you need to listen to this over and over and over again. I almost have goose pimples all over my body listening to her. And this is so instructive. This is a wealth of wisdom. What will be your final word to our people out here?
Ooh, what would be my final words? My final words is, it's your choice. The choice is yours. It always is, and it always will be. You decide whether it's going to be a good year or whether it's going to be a bad year. You decide whether you're going to let the noise of the marketplace guide you and the choices you make in your life, or whether you're going to listen to wisdom within, God within, who is going to set upon your heart a goal, a dream. And so long as you are ready to take action, you write that goal down. You have to write it down. You have to write down the actions you need to begin to take, and you need to begin to take those actions. And will things go AWOL? Yes, they will. How do you respond to them? Because the answer you get will align with the response. The response you get will align with the questions that you asked. So when you're faced with a challenge, ask the right questions and the right answers will come to you. And nothing is ever as bad as it seems. Nothing. Nothing. COVID or no COVID, we still did over $1.5 billion worth of business last year. COVID or no COVID. So what do you want? What do you desire? Write it down. Gather the courage. Trust yourself. Believe in yourself. Because everything that is on the inside will manifest on the outside. But if there's nothing on the inside but fear, that is all you will see on the outside. So take fear and tell it to be quiet, that you have heard it, but that you're on a mission. And when a man is on a mission, nothing can stop him. Wire your brain to believe that this is a mission. It's not a short-term goal. You're on a mission. and you're living your best life on this mission. And everything you need will fall into place for you. And go every day into the world, believing and trusting that what you are seeking is also seeking you.
Wow.
Thank you.
Guys, unmute yourself, and let's appreciate Mrs. O. Guys, I mean,
thank you so much,
thank
man.
you,
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much. I'm really blessed.
Thank you so much. That was
Wow.
amazing, man.
Thank you so much. We are really grateful. Thank you. God bless you. We are grateful for the gift of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you. Wow.
Thank you.
I am praise for warware.